Today on our 2013 Ram 2500, you're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to show you how to install the Rampage SuperBrite LED tailgate light bar. This is what our light bar looks like when it's installed. It's going to be for a full-size truck, and you can see it's going to give you added safety on the back of your vehicle. The nice thing about one of these light bars is, let's say one of your taillights goes out or your blinkers goes out. This is not going to replace that function. However, as you can see, our light is blinking. It's going to allow people behind you to know what you're getting ready to do if your taillight happens to go out, to give you a chance to go get a new bulb or replace a fuse. The light's going to be waterproof, have a black finish. As you can see, it's pretty well hidden. It's going to maintain a nice clean look on the back of the vehicle. As far as the installation goes, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Now that we've gone over some of the features of the light, let me show you how I installed it. To start our installation, it's going to be much easier if you remove your tailgate. Very simple to remove. You are going to have a plug right here. You need to pull this cap off and unplug the factory wiring. Once you get your tailgate removed, you want to make sure you take some rubbing alcohol or something and clean this area right here on the bottom side of your bed. Next thing I recommend doing is pulling your light bar out of the tube. And you got two ways of doing this. It comes with a 4-pole plug on it. If you have a factory 4-pole plug, you can go ahead and run your wire and plug it directly into that. That way you can unplug it when you want to, or you can tie it into your factory wiring, which is what we're going to do here. Before we do that, we're going to test our wiring or test our light to make sure everything's working before we go to splicing any of the wires. We'll go ahead and plug this into our 4-pole plug. We'll test our left blinker, our right blinker, our brake lights, and our running lights. Now that we know everything is working correctly, we can go ahead, test our wires underneath the vehicle, make sure we got the same functions for our factory wiring, and we'll go ahead and splice our wires together. You want to make sure that the wiring from your light bar is on your driver's side to make sure that your light bar is functioning properly. Now, it's a good idea to determine where your light bar is going to sit. You want to make sure that it's not too high, that it's going to sit behind your tailgate when your tailgate's folded up. You can see these two lines here. This is where this plug fits in, so you want to make sure you're not up inside of that where you can't get that plug back in. You also don't want to go too low where you're going to cover your spare tire hole. Now, what we've determined is the spacers that come in your kit, if we set them right on this bottom edge here, like this, our light bar is actually going to sit right in place where we want it to go. Now, the other issue we're going to have is it's not going to sit flat because of this cover. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to modify that cover a little bit. We'll pull it out, and I'm going to cut it, just this outside edge, so the light bar will sit flat, and then we can put this cover back in. Get this here. I'm going to mark it. So you can see what I did. I just cut this top edge off. Make sure you cut it down to this back side here so that your light sits flush. Make sure you leave the top and bottom tab on so this locks into place. Now we can go ahead and put our spacers in. Put one down here. Just like that. And the back of our light is going to have tape also. And we want to make sure our light's going to be centered from side to side also. So before you stick it on there, make sure you give it a good look. And set it right on top of your spacers. And we'll press it into place. Now we've gone ahead and tested our wiring to make sure that our colors match the wires on our light. Green's going to be your right turn signal, yellow is going to be your left turn signal, brown is going to be your running light, and this white wire here is going to be your ground. So all we're going to do is, and it's completely up to you how you do it, you can leave all this wiring in case you have an issue down the road. You'll have plenty you can cut and re-splice, or you can cut it to size however you want and splice it in that way. I suggest not cutting in past this. This is the ground wire. This is probably a fuse here. Yeah, this is just a bus fuse. So I would not cut past this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut our 4-pole plug off here. We're going to leave ourselves a little bit here. Just like this. Separate our wires. I'm going to strip make these a little bit long. That way I can kind of double them over. Make sure I got a good connection in my butt connectors. I'll do that same thing with these. Cut our wires here. Now if you're doing it this way, I suggest butt connectors, you don't get butt connectors in your kit. I suggest getting some heat shrink butt connectors. It's going to help protect your all your connections from corroding. We're going to cut this side a little bit long because this is going to get tied into our light bar wiring. And we're just going to match our wires. We'll go ahead and put a ring terminal onto our ground wire. You can also find these here at eTrailer.com. And I'm going to ground this right to the frame of the vehicle. I'm just going to ground it right here. Just like that. Now before we shrink up our butt connectors, we're going to go ahead and test out our lights and make sure everything's working correctly. Left turn, right turn, brake lights, running lights. Now we'll let these cool down just a minute. I'm going to wrap each one with a little bit of electrical tape, and then I'll tape them together. Go ahead and put them back in my wire loom, tape them up, and then we'll clean all of this up. That'll do it for a look at and installation on the Rampage SuperBrite LED tailgate light bar on our 2013 Ram 2500.